I remember one day thinking about the show. Something was missing. We needed something. And I started to think about those golf balls. And then, of course, sometimes you really know you got bingo. The idea of the golf ball and the blowhole and bringing those two stories together.
The night before we shot, we wrote that whole long fish story for Jason. And we were so excited. That was one of our rare late-night rewrites. We really did very little of that. And I remember Larry and I having a real laughing fit writing that speech.
Larry came over, he said, "You're a quick study, right?" And I said, "Yeah, what do you need?" He said, "I got an idea. Can you handle like a page monologue?" I said, "Yeah, probably, sure." He said, "You won't be afraid to try it just in front of the audience because we're not going to be able to rehearse it." I said, "Let's go."
We were so worried that Jason was not going to be able to learn all this in one day. Of course, Jason was a master quick study.
You are seeing it, it's a rehearsal. You're seeing a rehearsal in front of an audience.
The sea was angry that day, my friends. Like an old man trying to send back soup in a deli. I got about 50 feet out, and suddenly, the great beast appeared before me. I tell you, he was 10 stories high if he was a foot.
If you watch that scene, you will see the look on my face is strictly, I am not in that scene at all, except to kind of encourage him to remember this speech that we had worked so hard on, and I thought was going to be such a great laugh. If it came out right, I know the lines, and I'm thinking them along with him as he's saying them.
And it was one take, never touched it after that. I mean, there was no pickup, no reshoot. It was gold.
As I watched him struggling, I realized that something was obstructing its breathing. From where I was standing, I could see directly into the eye of the great fish.
Mammal.
Whatever.
Hey, what did you do next?
Well, then, from out of nowhere, a huge tidal wave lifted me, tossed me like a cork, and I found myself right on top of him, face to face with the blowhole. I could barely see from the waves crashing down upon me, but I knew something was there. So I reached my hand in, felt around, and pulled out the obstruction.
What is that, a title list?
I'm telling you, like a wall, like getting hit by a truck is how that laugh came pouring in.
Not only was that one of the biggest laughs in the history of the show, if not the biggest, but it was the great gesture of being able to pull it out.
You can only do something like that if it's at the end of a show. You couldn't do that as an act break because nobody believes it. But as a big joke to end the show, where you don't have to do anything after it because that's the end of the show, you can get away with it. And I put my hand in and he pulls up a golf ball.
That is one of my favorite perfect moments. That, along with Terry Hatcher, and they're spectacular, and Julia, and they're all laid out for you. Being great exit. We didn't have that many of those things that are really just that capper.